Hello, chismosas y chismosos, and welcome back to Bay Area Housewife of True Crime, where I like to tell the stories of the real cucuys and lloronas of the world. We are at part 12 of my series on the Hans Reiser case. As a reminder, topics may be triggering. Listener and viewer discretion is very strongly advised. The people mentioned are innocent until proven guilty in court. There was a little comedy in the courtroom when Bill Dubois was questioning witness Arthur Gomez. After Arthur called Hans a wuss, Bill asked, and I quote, "OG, is that what you are, OG?" To which Gomez agreed. Dubois asked if OG stood for Old Gangster, and Gomez said no, Original Gangster. Gomez testified that he met Hans while they were both inmates at Santa Rita Jail on February 13th of 2007, and that Hans introduced himself as Thomas, his middle name. While watching TV, OG Gomez witnessed Hans rush to the TV screen when KTVU Channel 2 broke a story about a body being discovered in the Oakland Hills. When Hans saw that the victim was identified as a black man, Hans' extreme interest was instantly lost. By Christmas break, the jury had heard from 30 witnesses and seen 129 exhibits during the 20 days of trial. Trial resumed on January 14th of 2008, where they showed the video of Hans running away from Bay Area true crime legend Henry Lee, reporter for the San Francisco Chronicle, on September 18th of 2006. On January 22nd of 2007, OPD criminalist Shannon Cavness took the stand and testified that DNA samples matching both Hans and Nina were found on the bloodstains located at Hans' residence. On January 28th of 2007, Aaron Morash was called to the stand. Aaron worked as an internal auditor and security manager with Patelco Credit Union, where Hans and Nina banked at. He testified that after Nina went missing, there was an increase of cash withdrawals at various locations, hopping from one branch to another in Hans' account. The auditor asserted that this was sus, unusual, and in his experience, a fraud pattern. He further testified about Nina's banking activities and how they had completely stopped after September 3rd of 2006. Her last transaction was for groceries at the Berkeley Bowl. Weeks before she went missing, she had registered her car with the DMV. Her last check was made out to Adventure Time, her kids' after-school program. Nina's account was now marked as dormant with a balance of roughly $4,500. On February 11th of 2007, Miss Irina Sharonova was called to testify. Miss Irina testified that her only daughter, Nina, was in love with Hans initially. She loved her kids, and as far as Hans, she told the jury about his solo visit to Russia during a summer in 2003 where he told his mother-in-law that he did not want a smart wife. Around July of 2006, Nina's parents pleaded with her to stay in Russia, and Nina told them, and I quote, "I have children, I have a house, and I want to live in the United States." Miss Irina explained how much missing their mom had affected her grandchildren, especially her grandson Rory, who stopped using the word mama when mentioning Nina, stopped listening to songs with the word mama. Rory told his maternal grandmother that he remembered a time when Hans covered Nina's mouth with a scarf. Miss Irina testified that she sought custody of her grandkids because she did not want the killer around them. On February 19th of 2007, the defense called their first witness, Greg Silva, who was Hans's divorce lawyer. He testified that he deposed Nina regarding her handling of the finances with regards to Hans' company Namesys because he was in the process of investigating whether she was committing embezzlement. This was all because Hans believed that Nina and Sean, his former only friend, had stolen money from his company, and that the money Sean was suing him for was, in his mind, his. Ramon Reiser testified next, and when asked if he had ever driven a car without a seat, he responded with, quote, "We do it in our family routinely. We don't repair old cars, we drive them until they fall apart. We do not put new seats in." Ramon testified that at one point he worked in Russia in the security field, and while there he was robbed by, quote, "a superbly conditioned crack addict," end quote. Sir, as someone who grew up in the Bay Area and someone who took BART for 10 years, I can confidently say that crack addicts are not superbly conditioned. They be leanin'. That was not bizarre. Ramon also testified that he feared his son was being tracked by the Russian mafia or the techno geek S&M crowd. The defense next called Beverly Parr to come to the stand. Beverly Parr, not to be confused with Beverly Palmer / Reiser / Bev, but how could you not confuse them? They have the same name, and they were both once friends and had also both been in relationships with Ramon, albeit not at the same time. Beverly Parr was a psychiatrist, and she testified that she believed Hans had Asperger's disorder. On cross-examination, the prosecution presented its own theory of another disorder Hans may have, that of having narcissistic tendencies, to which Beverly Parr responded with, quote, "I'm not a specialist, but it could be," end quote. On February 25th of 2008, the defense showed the jury a video of Ed Torres, a private investigator, demonstrating that it was possible for Hans to lay down inside the Honda CRX.